Hey guys, I'm back with another video. I wanted to share with you my expert advisor, which I've built to help me place my trades. It is a Trendline break EA, and it's meant to trade breakouts. Trend lines are not a new thing. I'm sure you've used them in your own trading. They are very useful in helping us see the direction of price and also identify price patterns on the chart, whether it's ranging, whether it's forming a triangle, a pennant, or whether it's just showing a price structure of higher highs and higher lows. Things like that. So I use the trendline break system to trade two things. One is to trade a breakout. When I expect a breakout to happen, I would enter as prices break out of the trend line, and I anticipate a strong momentum where price would move in the direction of the breakout. The other thing is I use it to trade fakeouts. Fakeouts are just the opposite of a breakout, and fakeouts are essentially failed breakouts. In a situation like this, I would have drawn a support line at the bottom before this dip happened. And if I were to trade a breakout to the downside, I would have entered and sold right about as prices broke through the line. Okay. If I were anticipating a fake out, if my upper time frames are telling me that it's likely going to go up, I would then enter a buy stop right there. But I would enter the buy stop only when price is below this horizontal line and as it's headed up. Okay. The Trendline EA, which you can download in the link below, are essentially buy stops and sell stops. It's meant to help you execute the trade without you being physically present or without you entering your own buy stop or sell stop order manually. Okay? It comes with a few features which I will later explain in the video. So in a nutshell, I'm a price action trader. I always start with getting a direction bias of the bigger picture. Okay, if the daily tells me it's gonna go down, I would most likely look for sells. Okay, then I would go slightly further to the H4 and look for a structure like a higher high, a higher low, or a lower high and a lower low. Then finally on the H1, we then zoom in further and look for price patterns and ranges to form, and then we will decide if we're going to enter on a breakout or a fake out. So why enter on the trendline break? Why not be the first to jump the gun and participate? It's simple because oftentimes our minds are playing all sorts of tricks, and using a trendline break system will force you to trade what you see. Okay? If you think prices is going to go up, then let it go up and then participate after it has gone up for quite a while. Okay? So we won't be the first to enter, but we are not the last to enter as well. There would still be a nice portion of profits that we could harvest. Okay, so we trade what we see, we don't make assumptions, and by using a trendline break system, it has allowed me to become a more objective trader. So this is what it looks like when you open up the EA and drag it across your chart. Okay, and auto trading and live trading is turned on. You would then get to choose the risk per trade. It's set to be at 1% by default. And last X bars means where we would place our stop loss. Okay, so it's going to look back at the past 10 bars and identify the highest or lowest point, depending if you're selling or buying, and place a stop loss there, plus some padding. Okay, padding is just the distance between the peak high and the actual stop loss. So we would add a few pips to give prices more room to breathe in case it reaches there, because we need to take into account the spread of the currency pair. TP multiple is set to be at 1.5 by default, and it's just basically a multiple of the distance between your entry price and your stop loss price. If you wish to aim for a bigger risk to reward, you can just increase this to 2 or 3, depending if the situation allows for it. So here are some examples where we could utilize a trendline break system before the breakout happens. As you draw the trend line across, the EA would be able to identify that it's going to be a sell stop order as long as you drew the trend line below where prices is. Okay? And in this case, as price fall below the trend line, it's gonna calculate the stop loss. It's gonna place it right about here. This is the highest point of the last 10 bars, and it's gonna measure in distance times the TP multiple, which we've chosen to set the TP. If it's 1.5, it's gonna be 1.5 times the distance, so right about here. This is a situation where we could have used the trendline break system to trade a fake out. Okay, so we expected price to break past this low horizontal line. It did for a while. It hovered here for a bit, but it went nowhere. As you are below the trend line, if you had placed a horizontal line here, the EA would be able to identify it and enter a buy as price reverses and goes back into the range here. Okay, this is a very nice example of a fake out trade. It's not always as clean as this setup here that you see, okay, in reality. Here's another example of a fake out trade, provided that you have a downside bias on the upper time frames. We could easily use a trend line break system to enter on a fake out, okay? But remember, prices has to be above this line, and as you draw this horizontal line across, it will place a sell order as prices reverse back. This is also a very nice and clean setup. Last example of a sell trendline break. As prices fall below this trend line and touches it, stop loss would be calculated automatically, placed above here, and the TP would be set depending what you've placed as your TP multiple. As you place the EA on your screen, this would appear on the left side, so you would know if it's going to enter a sell or a buy. In this case, we're anticipating an upward breakout. That's what it says here on the left side. And if prices were to shoot past this horizontal line, it would enter into a buy. An example for a sell trade, it says downward breakout here. If prices were to fall below the line, then we would be in for a sell. On the next screen, you will see two examples of a live market trade, which I took with the EA. Okay, let's have a look at the Euro USD. On the daily, it's near previous lows. This past few days, price attempted to make a new low but closed above the line. Seeing it price section on the H4, there isn't much momentum to the upside. It looks like price is still creeping to the downside. You can see a clear structure of the lower highs here, okay, where I drew this trend line here. And on the H1, we're investigating this part here. It's also making lower highs. High, lower high, lower highs, okay? And it actually made a lower low already, okay? I should have drawn my trend line right here. I missed it. So I'm going to demonstrate the EA. I'm going to draw it right about here, below where we are right now, and let it execute for us. Remove this. Allow live trading and auto trading is turned on. Inputs 1%, previous last 10 bars for the stop loss, padding of 3 pips, and a TP multiple of 1.5. There you go. We just got in a breakout trade to the downside, stop loss above the highest of the previous last 10 bars, and a TP multiple of 1.5x of the stop loss distance. 35, about 53. If you want, you can change your background to a darker color so you can see more data on this side here. So we're basically in, and the purpose of this demo is not to make a profitable trade, but rather to show you how the EA works. And it's risking about $43. This is an account of about $4,000-ish. So yeah, it's 1%. And it's aiming to make $65, okay, 1.5 times. Let's have a look at another example. We're still in the EU. Price is below support. It did not make a breakout to the downside immediately, but it's still hovering below support line. Looking at H4, this could still be a break and a retest for a continuation to the downside. On the H1, we have a diagonal downtrend line and an attempt to break out of it, which could very well be a fake out to the upside. I'm gonna bet that this trend line would hold, and this is indeed a fake out, and will enter as prices move lower for sell to the downside. So let's get the EA up. I'm gonna do a 2R this time because it's a fake out trade, so there's more room for profit because we're entering earlier in the. It's gonna confuse the EA if there are other trend lines, so let's delete this one. Okay, it's gone now. I'd be interested in entering a sell trade if price moves lower, let's say around here, and we'll assume that price made a fake out of the diagonal downtrend line. So we're essentially entering on the trend line bounce, okay, but we're waiting for more price action to form, and we'll enter as it goes down. A 2R should be easily achievable. There you go, we're in. This candle is yet to close, so it was counting the last 10 bars that have already closed. So it's not the best example. And in this case, I would just adjust the stop loss slightly. This would be the proper place to place the stop loss above the wick here. Okay, so the stop loss is essentially the highest of the past 10 bars that have closed. Okay, if this bar hasn't closed, then it's not going to be able to detect this bar. I may make some improvements to the EA later on so that it would be able to count the current bar as well. Okay, in that case, you should be able to place the stop loss here automatically. But that's it, we're in for sell trade. So thanks for watching, guys. That's the end of the video. I've updated the EA so that it's able to calculate the current bar's high or low so that the stop loss placement would be more accurate. And if you just scroll down to the description below, there's a link to where you can download the EA for free. I hope that you have found value in watching this video and you'd be able to use the EA as a tool to help you with your trading and become a better trader. I'll catch you guys next time. Yeah.